Jackson in California. You're on Free Talk Live, Jackson.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good, Jackson. Go ahead with your thoughts.
I want to talk about the plastic bag ban, the impending plastic bag ban in California.
Is it statewide?
Yes, it will be statewide.
Don't you already have it in a few cities there?
Yes, that's true. There's a few cities, a community that banned all plastic bags. And when this ban goes into effect, it will be, I believe, July 2015, and I just think it's a terrible idea.
Why?
Because it won't stop the litter. I mean, there's still going to be litter. Mm-hmm. There just will be litter with the addition of the illegality of plastic bags.
Meaning that somebody is going to, well, first of all, the storefronts are going to get rid of them, right? So the grocers are going to be changing into, I presume, paper bags, or are they going to be mandating everybody have those sewn bags?
I don't really know. There's really a lot of speculation about it, and some people are going to bring their own bags, but that could be difficult because you might end up buying more groceries than your bags can hold.
That's true.
I've thought about this, and I would like to say that I'm always the good little consumer and bring in my
you have some bags, don't you?
I do, and I take them in because I don't like to have all those plastic bags.
I love them, man. They're great for picking up poop.
They are good for dog poop. Yep. They are good for
trash can lining.
Trash can line, the little trash cans, and they're good for when it comes to, I have pigs and I have to take bread bags and things like that, and I shove them in the bag, tie them up, and send them to the dump. But I can buy more bags of groceries than I can use these things for, so I don't need them as much. But I wonder, what about the grocery store? If it says Publix on it, could you charge Publix for the bag that is out there? Could you fine them for the litter?
Well, I bet you they might. We can look in and find out more about the story here in moments. It's Free Talk Live. What I love the most about doing Free Talk Live is that our listeners bring us some of the best show prep. And sometimes it happens live on the air. Like, I didn't know about California's legislature passing a total ban on grocery stores, or I guess any stores, offering plastic bags to customers. So it hasn't yet passed the governor's office yet, but it probably will. It's California.
Governor Jerry Brown.
It's California. It doesn't matter what his name is. It's California. What are the odds it's not going to pass? We did have Jackson on the line in California, and he had brought this story about the California plastic bag ban. According to a story over at Reuters, just written about a week or two ago, this, let's see, there's never been a state that's done this. There have been some counties, some cities, Hawaii's Maui County, some other cities around that have made it illegal for grocery stores to pack purchases in plastic. At the state level, however, opposition from plastic bag makers has usually prevailed. California Senate voted 22-15 for the bill, and it must be signed into law by September 30th by the Democratic Governor Jerry Brown. State Senator Alex Padilla says, quote, single-use plastic bags not only litter our beaches, but also our mountains, our deserts, and our rivers, streams, and lakes. Jackson, in California there, what are you hearing from people about this? Is this even an issue that's being discussed? And tell me more.
Nobody I know is talking about it.
Interesting.
I talked about that to my wife, and she's all for it.
Huh.
One thing I'm curious, though, will a black market emerge of plastic bags since they will be illegal?
Well, I can't imagine that. Well, first of all, it's not saying that plastic bags will be illegal. You, in theory, would be able to bring your own plastic bag into the store and put stuff in the plastic bag and
what
take it out.
What it'll do is it'll drive down prices of acceptable biodegradable bags because people will forget their bags, like I do sometimes. I forget them I forget my fabric bags out in my plug-in Prius.
Yeah.
I refuse to walk back out and get my bags and then come back in. I won't do it. So I need some kind of alternative, and they'll probably come up with some really cheap alternative, a 5-cent fabric bag, and that's what's going to happen, and you'll see those on the ground.
Now, there is something I'd like to know, because the story here says the measure would ban grocery stores from handing out single-use grocery bags with customers' purchases. Does that mean that Walmart will be banned from using plastic bags? Is Walmart a grocery store? Some Walmarts have larger grocer sections than others. A super Walmart, for instance, has a large grocer section. A regular Walmart doesn't have as large of a grocery section. Is there a certain percentage of floor space that one must have as grocery to be considered a grocery store? What about 7-Eleven? What about convenience stores? What about stores that don't necessarily have fresh produce, although sometimes you can walk into the 7-Eleven and they have some bananas or oranges and things like that. So at what level is something a grocery store? Is it square footage? Is it the type of inventory that they store? So it sounds like this isn't going to affect, let's say, a hardware store. You go to the hardware store, they give you a plastic bag there.
Home Depot has them.
Right,
sure.
Home Depot, they give you plastic bags at almost every major big box retailer out there, and as well as mom and pop businesses. When I go down to get Chinese food here in Keene, I get that in a plastic bag as well.
The white ones that say thank you all the way down the side.
There's usually a smiley face on the ones that I get. But Jackson, any other final comments on this?
Those are very good points. I'm going to research those myself. That's it.
Thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. Yeah, I was actually digging around during the news break trying to find what the actual bill number is of this thing, and none of the articles I was able to pull up knew what the bill number was or communicated that information. So wasn't able to actually pull up the actual text of the bill. Not that I really want to read through it, but I was just curious as to whether it was just grocery stores. The news media summary here from Reuters makes it sound like it is. And so if that's the case, I guess the argument would be that, well, grocers put more plastic bags out there than anyone else. As far as like consumable products, it's more likely that you're going to be going in and buying groceries more often than, say, Craftsman tools at Sears or something like that. I suppose that could be the argument. Or maybe this is just the foot in the door. Maybe they're going to be, banning plastic bags from grocery stores, and then next year they'll go ahead and expand that out to all stores.
So, what do you think about this concept? And I'm floating it out there.
You, the listener?
I haven't had a chance to think about. Well, I would love to hear what the listener has to say about this.
Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
But I'm asking you, Ian. So let's say that you don't ban plastic bags, but you tell grocers that, look, your bags are ending up polluting our waterways, our oceans, our mountains. What did he list off there? He listed a bunch of things.
Everything that's natural.
They're everywhere. Your bags, they're everywhere. They've got their name on them. What happens if you find the store for the bags being on the ground?
That's a terrible idea.
And I'm asking you because essentially this would be a ban, but it would be a ban in a different way. Because, when you acknowledge that somebody is going to throw these things on the ground, then, it's a different thing. They're going to,
That's a terrible idea.
right?
It takes the responsibility away from the person who did the littering. It shouldn't be the company's fault that one of their customers is irresponsible. And not only that, then someone who didn't like a certain company could just go get a bunch of their plastic bags and throw them around a police department.
That's a good point that they can certainly do that.
So, no, you don't want to take responsibility out of the person's hands who's the actual criminal. And litter is a crime. It's a property rights violation. But let's continue. We've got Coral on the line in Atlantic City listening to WPG. Hello, Coral.
Always listening to you.
Welcome.
Well, they got it banned in plastic bags to save the plastic trees. Think about it. Remember, they came out with plastic bags to save the trees to get rid of the paper bags?
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, wow. No, I don't remember that. That's fascinating. I was probably before my time. When was that?
Yeah, it could. I don't remember exactly when it was. You see, in Atlantic County, my senator, he wanted a 5-cent tax on every plastic bag that you get at any of the stores if you didn't bring them other bags in, right?
Yep.
And he wanted 4 cents of that money to go to the state of New Jersey. So it was, in my opinion, it had nothing to do with the plastic bags. It was another way to get 4 cents out of the taxpayers for each bag. And he couldn't believe the outcry from the public against it, and it went nowhere.
Yeah, I don't think people want this. They like their plastic bags, but I do agree with you. I remember it might have been around high school or maybe for me junior high that they switched from paper bags to plastic bags, and there was, forcing people to change to anything doesn't generally go well. Just look at how the metric system was accepted in the U.S.
I wonder about that, Mark.
Yeah.
I wonder about whether people want this or not, because a lot of people want to feel like that they are doing something for the environment. And that makes them feel good. And if they're told that, well, if we ban plastic bags, that'll be good for the environment, which, of course, it's interesting that you're pointing out that that was the original reason to bring out the plastic bag in the first place. That may be persuasive to people who, while they know that there is convenience involved in the plastic bags, may be willing to tell themselves, well, I'm willing to go through a little bit of difficulty in order to help save the planet. And so, therefore, this may have support. I'm interested to see if there's been any actual polling data done and would like to find that out about this issue. Coral, any final thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah, the last thing is when I take them Walden plastic bags, them heavy runs to my supermarket, they give me 5 cents off my grocery bill for each one I use.
Sweet.
Whoopee. Hey, thanks, Coral. Appreciate the call. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Would love to have your thoughts. You know what? I like that he brought up the paper bag aspect of this. And I remember when I was growing up, and I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, I remember seeing my parents would bring home groceries in the brown paper bags at Publix in South Florida. And then at some point, those seemed to go away. Like, they still had them, but they'd start asking people paper or plastic, and it seemed like most people were choosing plastic when they were given that choice. So maybe people do want this. Bruce, you're on Free Talk Live, and you're in Lynchburg, listening to WLNI FM.
Hey, how you guys doing,
Good,
man?
Bruce.
I heard you talking about the plastic bags, and the state of Maui, the county of Maui was brought up, and they had to. Well, they didn't have to, but they were having such a catastrophic problem with plastic bags that they outlawed them. The trade winds over there were heavy on days, and the road to the dump was going up the Haleakala Mountain, and all these bags would get dumped into the dump, and the road going up to the dump was lined with coyote trees, mesquite, and they had all these thorns and stuff on them, and the winds would blow plastic bags out of the dump, and they all got hung up in these coyote trees, and it looked like Christmas trees. Imagine Christmas trees adorned with plastic.
Garbage bag trees. They're just growing garbage bags.
Yeah, and they really hated it, so they outlawed them, and somehow they cleaned them up. They yanked them all out of the trees, and it was all pretty again.
Yeah, I can see why you wouldn't want, you wouldn't want to go out there and pull the bags off the trees every single day. I mean, because there's just more going to blow in. Mm-hmm. I think that this is a real issue that this illustrates many of the problems of the living together. I prefer to have these plastic bags over having, say, paper bags, and I want some plastic bags in my life. I don't want every one of them that I get, but at the same time, I understand that there's this giant spot in the Pacific that's full of plastic that's just floating there. So far we haven't figured out what to do with that. So I think that this is a tough one.
Bruce, thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate hearing from you. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. It may be a tough one, but I just don't support using the coercion of the state to solve problems like this. I mean, if people think this is a problem, and I think people would think that's a problem, if people were aware of the fact that plastic bags are lining the trees in a certain location, they may be motivated to attempt to talk to the companies and try to convince them to change how they do business. That's not unheard of for companies to, in fact, it's what companies do. If they feel like there's a wind of change going on in the marketplace, like, for instance, you got all these companies now advertising how green they are because they feel like that's what they want. Customers want green, guys. Look, we've got to change our marketing. We've got to change how we approach things. We've got to even change, in Walmart's case, they're changing their truck line out to be more green, as I understand it. So there, a lot of them are kind of top-down organizational level changes to really help market their program, to market their business to consumers. And if they feel like they can be the hero of the day, like, wow, we saw this problem, that these were our bags and they're all over these trees and we've changed how we're going to behave. I think that using persuasion, using the marketplace. These are ways that we should find solutions to problems, not using the threat of violence through the state, which is what all laws are ultimately.
I think that the threat of violence through the state would be a fine solution if it wasn't abused 99 times out of 100. That the problem with using this organization that claims for itself a monopoly privilege on violence in a given geographic area, and that's what the state is that if they used it judiciously, use this power judiciously, you wouldn't have people like us ever having had the social capital to ever get on the radio in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
So they, people that claim for themselves the power to rule over you have abused that power historically to such a large extent that I don't trust them in an area here where I would actually sort of support it.
Let's go to, well, I don't support using violence. I don't think it's okay. It's just, for me, it's a moral question. So we were talking about the plastic bag ban, and the update I had for you on that case, thanks to our producer, Sci-Phase, is fresh as of about a week ago. So the Senate passed this plastic bag ban in California about 2 weeks ago, apparently. And then within the last week, or about a week back, California Governor Jerry Brown, according to the AFP, has said he will approve a ban on single-use plastic bags in what would make the western U.S. state the first to outlaw them. Lawmakers passed the bill late last Friday, that's 2 Fridays ago, and now requires Brown's signature to pass into law. It must be done before September. He said, quote, "I probably will sign it, yes," and then went on to say, "In fact, I'll tell you why I'm going to sign it. There are about 50 cities with their own plastic bag ban, and that's causing a lot of confusion," he said, cited by the LA Times and other media, adding that this is a compromise. It's taking into account the needs of the environment, the needs of the economy, and the needs of the grocers. I don't know if that's true, but that's his claim. Under the California legislation, single-use plastic bags would disappear from grocery stores and pharmacies by July 1st, 2015. Then, in the next year, July 1st, 2016, they will no longer be allowed at convenience and liquor stores. So I got a little bit more information about this from our man, Sci-Phase, again, one of our listeners online, who does a great job of giving us some info here, because we don't have a producer staff. It's you and I sitting here, Mark Edge.
Thank God for Sci-Phase and the people like him.
Yeah, he's doing great work here. So he linked me to that, and according to the actual bill, he found the bill and pulled up the text of the bill. According to the bill, quote, "Single-use carry-out bag means a bag made of plastic, paper, or other material that is provided by a store to a customer at the point of sale, and that is not a recycled paper bag or a reusable grocery bag that meets the requirements of Section 42281. So
they can now use recycled paper bags again?
They can use recycled paper bags only, not regular paper bags.
Well, I think that you've just created an industry where they're going to, take paper and make recycled paper bags, and nothing's going to really change. They were trying to save the trees before, and the problem. Look, let's not forget that this whole problem was created with the outlawing of marijuana. Okay?
That's a good point.
Because the fact is that paper bags back in the 80s, when we had paper bags, would have been made out of hemp instead of trees, because hemp grows a lot faster than trees. But oh my goodness, Congress outlawed hemp when it outlawed marijuana, and they outlawed it accidentally, mind you, because they would have never outlawed cannabis if they would have used that word. But William Randolph Hearst, in fact, wanted them to outlaw this, so they had this huge campaign towards it. And this is the problem in the first place. It's your legislation that created the plastic glut. Government, good job.
Yeah, well, as usual, Mark, government creates the problems that it then sets out to solve. The government created the problem of the plastic bag, and now the government claims they're going to solve the problem. Well, if the issue is that people are being messy and people are just letting their bags fly all over everywhere, that could still affect paper bags, although I'm sure the argument would be that the paper bags are going to decompose faster than plastic will, for instance. That much is probably true. But again, if the concern is about the trees in the forest, then this isn't going to help that. Of course, the reality is if trees are in higher demand, then the marketplace will plant more of them. So the trees will be fine. You don't have to worry about the trees. If they're in high enough demand, that's absolutely true. But the land upon which trees grows tends to be far less valuable than the land upon which houses grow. Okay, I see where you're coming from, but that said, there's plenty of damn paper out there, and that's because the companies keep planting the trees.
The answer's hemp.
We'll come back with more. I would love for that to be the answer, and it's a shame that they don't have that answer in California already, what with their openness to marijuana law changes.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.